Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Friday, January 27th, 2017. If you want to follow us on Twitter, please go to CATEX TV. Earlier in the week, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order indicating that he, in fact, was going to build a border wall between the United States and Mexico. Unfortunately, perhaps not recognizing that Congress has to approve funds and the president can't unilaterally approve them, he realized he didn't have the money to actually build the wall. So the White House yesterday came up with the answer. They would impose a 20% tariff on the $297 billion of Mexican goods that are imported by the United States annually. What this would be used for would be to pay for the wall. Unfortunately, that tariff would end up being paid by American consumers, U.S. taxpayers. Trump himself quickly backed off that later in the day, so as of right now, there is still no means in place to pay for his wall. The Mexican president, who recognized that he was walking into a situation where he was potentially going to be humiliated by the six-day in-term office president at that time, announced that he would not come to Washington next week for his first planned official visit. First planned official visit from any foreign leader is in fact in process right now. Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, will be at the White House today. Lloyd CEO Inga Beale said that Lloyd's hopes to avoid having to erect an elaborate infrastructure for the EU subsidiary it's looking to establish to retain market access after the Brexit. Lloyd's has a short list of 5 options, including Dublin and locations in Germany and the Belgium and Luxembourg area. Speaking in Lloyd's yesterday, Beale said that language was one of the least important considerations in determining which of the 5 shortlisted EU locations Lloyd's will establish a new subsidiary in. She said, if the British government managed to get some access for us, we may be able to reconsider. That's the reason why we haven't set up a lot of infrastructure in a country, just in case we can roll it back. As we indicated earlier in the week, Theresa May has outlined her plans for a very hard Brexit, which would not have any access to the European common market. However, Parliament is now going to have to consider the British government's Brexit plan and could well add amendments. We always talk about ISIS, but there is another very active terror group called Al-Shabab. They're in Africa. The United States military is in Africa hunting Al-Shabab. Al-Shabab announced today that they have killed over 50 troops from Kenya when they attacked a remote military base in the southern part of Somalia. Somalia lies to the north of Kenya, and to protect its border, Kenya frequently goes over the border to protect itself from Al-Shabaab. Apparently, according to the Al-Shabaab spokesperson, some Al-Shabaab fighters were lost, but it did not give any numbers, but some 57 Kenyan soldiers are being claimed to have been killed by the terror group. We reported earlier in the week that Toshiba is going to be forced to take a write-down because of cost overruns in nuclear plant constructions in a subsidiary that Toshiba had purchased called Chicago Bridge and Iron. Well, it seems as if in order to pay for that, this morning the board of directors of Toshiba approved plans to sell part of its core memory chip business in order to raise the funds to pay for that multi-billion-dollar write-down. Toshiba's memory business, which is the world's biggest chip flash memory producer after Samsung, is the crown jewel of the company. Analysts are expecting that initially Toshiba is going to sell roughly 20% of that business, but that figure may have to rise to 60% in the future. Toshiba has a press conference scheduled this weekend. We're coming up to the Chinese New Year, and officials in Beijing have called on residents to refrain from setting off fireworks for the New Year. This is because of smog concerns. The entire province of Henan has banned the practice of any fireworks for this year. Authorities have been coming under pressure to stop the heavy pollution blanketing Beijing. The Chinese government said that let us enthusiastically take action by not setting off or setting off fewer fireworks and firecrackers, and allow Beijing to have a bluer sky, fresher air, and more beautiful and safer environment this New Year. January 27, 1967 was a Friday. Most Americans were at home watching a popular TV show at the time called Star Trek. Shortly after the show began, a news bulletin interrupted the show, saying that 3 Apollo 1 astronauts had been killed on the launch pad at Cape Canaveral in the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The 3 astronauts who were killed in a fire were Gus Grissom, Roger Chaffee, and Edward White. It was a flash fire that quickly incinerated the 3 astronauts. The 3 men are now buried in Arlington National Cemetery. It was a shocking turn of events for the American space program. However, their deaths, unfortunate and tragic as they were, caused the Apollo program to stop, take stock of itself, and begin to make corrections which could have proved deadly again in the future after a live launch. It's a good time to remember that. That's all we have for today. Have a good weekend. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Monday.